All right, everybody, we are back in the TRU-U studio here for the 63rd time. We have the lovely Miss Andy Allo on as our guest today. And Andy is a Cameroonian-born actor turned director who is truly paving her own path that is uniquely her own. She's currently starring as the lead female Nora in the Amazon Prime series Upload, which is from Greg Daniels, who created The Office. And she's spent over a decade in front of the camera. Andy has taken on a new role behind the camera as a writer and director. She's also adapted a New York Times bestseller, Blended, for the screen and completed her first short film, Alice, which she wrote and directed. In addition to acting, writing, and directing, Andy is a successful musician and singer. She released her first album, UnFresh, in 2009, and 2 years later joined Prince's New Power generation as a singer and guitarist, and worked with the legend on her sophomore album, Superconductor. Most recently, Andy released the single Angels Make Love with powerful LGBTQ music video produced by Lena Waithe. Andy has toured internationally and nationally as a headliner and an opening act and can be seen on Jimmy Kimmel and Guitar Center sessions. She is a true multi-hyphenate, and we knew she'd be leading her own revolution soon, said Prince. And that soon is now. That is one of my favorite bios. Andy Allo, how are you?
That's awesome. I'm doing good.
Thank you so much for being here. I miss your energy. I just love like your smiling face, and it's great to see you. I know you're out on the
too.
You're out on the road right now. It seems like you're always up to something. Can you just share a little bit about like this season of your life and what you're up to? And yeah, it's just let people know a little bit more about you.
Yeah. Well, season 2 of Upload comes out March 11th, and possibly by the time you're listening to this, it'll be out already. So definitely go watch season 2. And I just finished some episodes on Chicago Fire, which is amazing. And I love that show. It's a lot of fun. My character gets to investigate arsons. And
I love that.
It's a really, really cool role and show. And I'm working on a new album, which I haven't put out new music in a while. So it's been nice to kind of recommit, get excited about the new music that I'm working on, and I'm excited to share that.
I love that. I love the multifaceted creator that you seem to be.
All the things.
all the things. When you're looking at like a role, because it seems like you've got some differentiating, like the roles are a little bit different. How do you approach a new role, and how do you bring in the energy that's fit for a role, like acting wise? And you can talk about singing. So all of it, I make up that they all require a bit of a different sort of creativity and energy. Potentially, maybe.
I mean, that's a good question. I think it's all storytelling. It's all being creative and artistic. It's just in different mediums. Mm-hmm. So at the core, I'm an artist and a storyteller. That sometimes manifests itself as a singer, where I'll sing what the story is, or that's my creative outlet. As an actor, I'm telling a story, sometimes not my own, most times it's not, but I get to embody another person's story and tell that, and that my creativity manifests through that. And then as a writer, I will write either someone else's story, like Blended, or like Alice, writing something that's a little closer to me. Yeah, I think it's all in this like beautiful soup of story and creativity and artistry.
That's a really fascinating way of putting it. I really like that. It's like, I feel like when I show up in totally different spaces than what you're showing up in, but like when I'm showing up in my different hats that I wear, I'm like I make up that I have to reground myself and do all these different things and prepare. But it's like that's like such a simple way of narrating it. This is just a story. What's the calling for the expression in this story? Like I like that.
Yeah, I think it comes from the same well, you
Yeah,
know, and like I'm drawing the water, same creative water, but then I'm pouring it on different trees or plants, you know,
I like that.
and it's all kind of, but it all flows together.
Is there like a way that you ground into, like, you've been in some really powerful spaces with, like, I mean, being on some big sets, working with, I'm wearing my purple shirt today. I've got to shout out to Prince. He's one of my faves all time. I love that guy.
Yeah.
And from Minneapolis. I know you didn't know that. Now it's like, yeah, it hits.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah.
like being in those environments, like, is there, so I know some people that listen to this are scaling up and working towards being in bigger stages and bigger rooms or whatever you want to call it. And like, how do you ground yourself into that? Or is there anything that you do to, yeah, just bring yourself in fully, or take away all the clutter, the noise, if there isn't?
I mean, I found meditating to be extremely helpful in that space. And also having just like a quick mantra or something that I can connect to. And if I don't have time for any of that, sometimes just taking a couple deep breaths where I just like, okay. And in my head, kind of pumping myself up, I think about, the thing that popped in my head was climbing Kilimanjaro in 2020. It was our summit day, where you start at midnight and then you hike until you reach the summit. And it's freezing cold. You're, on this mountain. It's dark. You can't see anything. You're like, what's happening? I haven't slept at all. And in my head, and I'd worked with a coach and a trainer to get me ready for the climb. And I had her record just like a quick audio, maybe like 10, 20 seconds of her just like saying whatever she wanted. I said, just say something so I can listen to it as I go into this like next level,
Yeah.
You'd almost think of like, yeah, like that, the diagram of the performance, and you're like, okay, meta performance is like, I'm about to summit.
Yeah.
That's what this is. And sometimes you just need something that audio or something to like get you to like, all right, I know what I'm about to do and I know I have it in me. I just need someone or something to just like kickstart the spark or the match.
I love how you casually mentioned, yeah, when I summited Mount Kilimanjaro, and that's like, okay, what the hell haven't you done? That's awesome. And what I'm hearing is like, I'm molding myself to my, like I'm like, there's like something about the environment that you're in, or the something or the someone around you, and then inviting them into your being in that space too.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned, to date. And it's a lesson I keeps being reinforced in each of my experiences and the different stages of my life. Is that, to go it alone, yes, like you have the thing, that's why we're here. That's why we have these goals and we have these incredible visions for our lives. But but like to have help, to ask for help, to have one person or two person to share in that goal, I think is so pivotal. So even though, yes, at the end of the day, I had to climb that mountain. It was my legs had to do it, like my heart, my body, whatever. But I didn't go at it alone. I had people that, were there in it with me. And I think when we're doing meta performance things, even high performance things, but when we really want to level up, it's about who's in it with us, who's there to kind of say, hey, all right, this is it. You got this.
Yeah.
Go.
That's I'm thinking as you're saying that, like the season that I'm in, I just got done with the little Gap community event, and like my call, or like what I realized my longing was intimacy, and I've got what I made up in my life, so much to give, but like when others are trying to give to me, I'm like letting them in the lobby, but they don't get up to I haven't let them up to my penthouse yet in my life. So it's like, how much am I missing out on by not like letting others pour into me too and love on me? Like, I just, that's, as you're saying that, I'm just thinking about that. I'm like, there's a lot, like when you're interconnected and others really feel like they can empower you or be powerful with you. What can that do?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with all the examples, like the different, like.
I love you just cheesing out, by the way. Just cheese out. We're gonna cheese out live on this thing. Yeah. I love it. Your energy just gets me.
I need to write down, okay.
The turtleneck energy in Oklahoma City. We're bringing it. Let's go.
Yes.
I love it.
I'm in beautiful Oklahoma City. And like,
we're totally off the cuff on this thing, so you're safe with whatever. So
yes. I just was gonna say, I love that example of, you know, in the lobby and they haven't reached the penthouse. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Yes. And then I realized the people that I love the most are in the parking lot, that's the part that scared me when I realized that, because we did a bunch of live feedback. And if you really want to get like super, like cut your heart open and get in there and start fixing and mending, like it's like do live feedback and get permission and be vulnerable in that space with people that you love and ask them, like, what about my life would you really like, or like, how have you experienced me? Yeah. How have you experienced me in this space, like, and really dig in, like, what's the last 10% of that? And it sucks, but man, you get to know yourself. And I realized that, well, some of the people that I love the most are in the parking lot, because, and I wonder, like, is there some entitlement or feeling of like how I've known them for so long, or I got like, I'm going to show them, or I've got my life or whatever. And it's not like anything that's like anti them or against them, but it's like my winning strategy, or what I've had as my little goodies and payoffs in myself for like doing it on my own or without them, has actually affected them. And it's really interesting. And like, what's that costing me, and what potential growth or connection and vision and all that is, am I missing out on? But yeah, it's really fascinating. I've been in a slow down season. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. I think, you know, it's good to step back and like observe for a second, whatever is in that, you know, slow down season, whatever needs to happen is good. I think there's this idea when you are ambitious and when you are someone who has a huge vision for your life and what you want to create and bring into the world, that it's always like go, 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 go. And I think our society, you know, teaches us that, where it's like, what are you doing? So what's next? What are you working on? You know, what are all the things you've accomplished now? Tell us what next you're going to do. And it breeds this feeling of constant, you know, performance, or constant like productivity. And I love that. I'm very much like that, you know, especially when you're like, meta performance, let's go. I know. But, you know, and that's valid. Yeah. But, you know, there's two sides to a coin. And I think having that balance to where, yeah, part of being meta performance and a high performer and all those things is being able to take a step back and say, okay, let's regroup. Maybe we need to switch strategy a little bit. Maybe something, let's tweak a little bit and then get back into the race. You know, if you think about like a runner, if their form is off, they're not, you know, like in the middle of, they do the race and they go, and then afterwards they watch. You know, a better example is, and I'll relate it to my life, since I'm not a runner, and I was like, I'm going with this example, and I don't know. So I was like,
it works though. I don't have a penthouse either.
Let me pivot. So it's like after almost every concert, Prince would have us watch And we would watch the concert and we would watch where we didn't do our best, or we made a mistake, or something happened that just wasn't, up to the standard, which is a high standard. And at first I was like, oh my God, I hate these. I don't want to be here. This is so embarrassing. I don't want people to see me fail. But what I learned from that is that ability to, when you do something huge, when you're meta performing, is to go back, take a step back, take a look at what you've done, regroup. Hey, that doesn't work. That wasn't a great idea. But the only way to do that is in a slowdown period, is not when you're like on stage, in the middle of the game of the concert, trying to do stuff.
That's powerful. Like when is it fitting, and like how do I know when I should insert it? I think that like we get caught up when you're running analogy. It's like, I was thinking about myself. I'm like, man, I get excited about so many things. I'm running. And then when I'm running, I don't even realize that, like, okay, what am I not seeing? Like, oh my God, like now what can I do to just slow down? And it's tough for me to slow down. That's one of the toughest things for me to do. And like being intentional about it and knowing your space. And like, I think like what's coming up for me right now is like, how can you just plan that? Like, how can you just insert that automatically into your life? Hey, this is my time to examine, like, where's my energy being taken away? Where is it being built? Or even like with what you're doing, like you're calling to really go deep into what you're working on. And coaching was amazing, but it's like, this is my journey right now. And for me, I'm like in that space too. It's like there's these beautiful buckets that I have, but it's like, well, how is one taking from the other? Even though I love it, I love this one more, and this is my calling. So this is where I'm at right now. And that changes too.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. And there's nothing wrong with that, And I feel like what's coming up for me is, and because I'm very similar, I'm always doing a million things, and there's always something new that I'm like,
yeah.
I'm so excited about this.
I know. Oh my God. You hit me with a fun idea. Like, oh God, everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I get tunnel vision. It's not even that everything else doesn't matter. It's that all of a sudden I'm distracted in a powerful way. Like, whoa.
And you're like, wow, where did all this energy come from? Well, you dropped all the 10 plates that you were spinning, and now everything's on this idea that actually, like, wait, what?
How do you think that those plates stay stable? Is there, I think experience comes in, because we get hit by excitement bombs. I know I do. And by God,
I love that.
With all of what you're up to, I know you do too. So it's like, when you get hit by an excitement bomb, how do we, like, I know experience and like maybe that slowing down and that grounding, but is there like, and it doesn't have to be just an excitement bomb too. For some listeners, they're like, oh, I wish I had some excitement. But it's like, if you get hit with a curveball in life, like, how do you maintain the other plates? Like,
that's a great question. I think I'm still working on that, to be honest. But I think what's helped me is, as far as like excitement bombs go, and then I'll address more of the curveball thing, is I write stuff down. So like if there's an idea, or if there's something that I'm like, ooh, this would be really fun, I pause. I don't need to go into action right away. And because my tendency is, I'll get the idea, I will go into action. I'll go into plan. Let's make this thing happen. As opposed to, okay, let me just put it there and let me look at it.
Like, hold it out here.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, where do you fit? You don't right now. Okay, let's write you down, and I'll come back to you when I have more time. And like, and letting it simmer. And if it's something I can't get out of my head, if I keep coming back to it, and I'm like, ooh, that's so okay, there's something there, then I put a little more time to it. But as opposed to, forget everything else. Here's all my energy to you. And then for whatever reason, if it doesn't blossom into something, and I've spent all this time, it's like, okay, I can't afford to do that anymore. So in really taking just a pause and knowing that there's no rush, and also knowing that I can come back to this thing. It's not going to disappear. It's not going to like evaporate.
Hope not.
Right. It's like, I just got the idea. So it's going to be okay if I don't work on it today or tomorrow. And, and I thought what's coming to mind is, when I think about coaching, and that was something that I love. And it's so incredible seeing that light bulb moment happen for other people and to get to watch them realize their dreams. It's so amazing.
Yeah. It's the best.
And in my step back and like slow down period from that, a big lesson was, just because I'm not working on coaching now or actively coaching doesn't mean that I'm not a coach. It doesn't mean that everything I've learned evaporates. It's actually, like I'll actually get to apply it to everything else I'm working on.
Your life. And that's like part of what coaches dream of, is how can people take this into their everyday life? And you that dopamine hit or whatever of, I get to guide people to their ahas or their vision. That can happen anywhere. It's really fun when it's in an intentional space, but intentional spaces take commitment, and commitment's not always in alignment with your current vision. So great. But there's always like what can I pull from this? I'm sure some of your stage presence shows up in other areas of your life that's valuable, just like coaching does. So it's like a little, how do I mold myself into this abundant Andy? Yeah. That's juicy. How about curveballs?
Yes. Sorry, I know I went on a whole tangent on that last one.
Oh, excitement! I like talking about that one better too. That's a better one. We're not going to sit in the curveballs, and I think that's part of it too. Don't sit in it.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Take it, examine it. What is it? What's the effect that it has, and then move, base it off of maybe there's feedback you can get. But okay, I'm just stealing the answers to your question.
Yes. So. No, and to add on to that, is like, I mean, I'll basically say the same thing, but like, what's the lesson here? I used to get so angry and so upset when things didn't go my way. If I had a vision for something, if I had a plan and there was a delay, if there was something that came up, and I had to either cancel something or pivot, it was like devastation.
Yeah.
And what helped me and what helps me today, because those moments still happen, but I changed, and I started relating to it in what you just said of, okay, there's an opportunity here for me to learn something. And also recently, I would say maybe in the last few years, I really started to seeing them as good things, not bad things. Like
it's all interpretation.
It's actually, so when something doesn't go my way, when there's a curveball, when something fails, like, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is good. This means something better is about to happen. It means I'm actually about to pivot to something different, and that's more aligned for me and my vision. I might not see it yet. So it's trust, it's having faith, and it's letting go. Yeah.
All of that. I love it. I get excited about that. Like, and you can choose to get excited about those things too. It's really crazy how much interpretation has to do with what we see in life, what comes our way, what we attract, what we like, everything that seems like it's shitty on the surface could actually be packed full of gold and lessons and future opportunities and shifts in your life that can serve you.
Yeah, right. And it's like, I don't have to have the best idea in the room, you know? And it's like that with acting and being on set, or even making a song or music, you know? Sometimes there's a better riff, or there's a better lyric, or there's a better way to say something or do something.
Yeah, and part of it's like, to me, the word need and the word short-sightedness, like that's what's coming up when people like mold themselves or like react to these events in their life in the moment. It's like we're not looking out far enough. And that's like what I'm just thinking out loud right now, but I love all of this, and I think that like as events happen, it's like that doesn't define us. We get to gather data.
Yeah.
What would we like to do with this data? And how does this go? How does this serve my vision? Transform my vision? You know.
Yeah. There's a quote from Miles Davis, and where he says, and I'm not going to quote it exactly, but basically that it's that you're never playing a wrong note. It's what you play afterwards that makes it wrong or right. So you can always recover.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're like, oh my God, this thing is just something wrong happened, and now you've like fallen apart.
I hate the word right and wrong too.
And then, but it's like, if something happens and you're like,
yeah,
it's human to react. I think that's something that was coming to me, or was like, you know, we're human. We are going to react to things. But after that initial reaction, what's the next thing that you do? And I think that's what I think of when I you know, read that quote, is like, okay, you can react and you can have your oh shit moment, or whatever it is, you know, or a good cry.
How long do you want to sit in the oh shit? That's the question, is how long do you want to sit in the oh shit? We can all get into oh shits, and we can get into, I mean, most likely there's going to be a fragment of an oh shit in most of our days.
Absolutely.
But there's some are bigger than others. Some are little shits, some are big shits.
You're like, what am I going to do? You know, how do I recover from this once you get over, you know, you have you absorb the reaction, and then, and I loved what you said earlier, which was like not letting it define you.
Yeah, people think that like it's a definite, or it's like maybe that's the word, like it's like a label of like, now I am this because this happened. No, you're not. So every time that anything happens to you, you all of a sudden become that.
Right.
No. You are you. You're collecting data in your life. Your life is happening around you, and you're in it. And now you get to like continue to mold yourself, but none of them define you. They're all just a piece that you get to choose of what you take in, how you live, all of that.
Yes. Yeah. When I was working with Prince, he would say, what do you want your movie to be? What's your movie?
That guy is so
And I was like, yeah. He's like, if you're watching your movie, what do you want to happen? How would you want this character to pivot, to overcome, to, you know, rest, to enjoy? You're watching your movie. What's happening?
Isn't that funny how simple that is too? What do you want your movie to be? But there's so much packed into that.
Yeah.
I love that. And we've got like another 15 minutes, so we got to talk about Prince a little bit more too. I love that you brought him up. But that, like, what do you want your movie to be? Or who do you want to be? How do you want your impact to
be?
Receive it? Like, how, be. And that word be, like we talk about be, do, have, instead of do have
be.
Where it's like people are like, all right, I'm showing up, I'm going. I'm like, well, who are you? What are you committed to being?
Right.
You know, and there's I think that's tied into the slowdown too. All of this stuff, like, it's like grounding. And man, when I was, the most recent season of my life was a lot about grounding, and that's what I make up as B. are a
Yes.
big part of B is like, how are you grounding and what's your vision? That's another question I think that's tied into that. What do you want it to be, Prince? Like, what's your vision with this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Give me some juicy Prince, or give us, not me. I'm not being selfish here. Give the world some juicy Prince moments. What's the biggest memory or the most impactful or how? Yeah, just I love like,
I'm
well,
sorry,
not only is music.
can you contain your excitement just a bit?
No,
I'm just kidding.
no. I can't. No, it's done. Yeah, yeah. Everything else doesn't matter now. This is all that matters. Yeah. What's the most impactful Prince moment for you?
Getting to work with Prince.
Yeah.
Um,
Moment, Andy, not the whole thing.
moment. Okay.
Well, the whole thing is a beautiful. Yeah, that's all.
That's hard to. Yeah. I mean,
because he was just like I've watched his interviews and everything too, and he's just such a calm and like aware being. It seems like he's really got this just energy to him that's just powerful, and he, like, you feel it, and like when I watched him, I feel like I could benefit from it. I'm like, whoa, like, look at that man.
yeah.
Yeah. No pressure.
Well, I know. Can you see that I'm filing through?
I love that you get to file through them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Integrity was a really big thing for him, and he would say, like, if it's not coming from you, if you're allowing like outside things to determine what your passion should be, then you're out of alignment. And that there's such integrity in, is this coming from me or is this coming from something outside of me? And that's always stuck with me. So he's like, there's always going to be a million people that have opinions about what you should do, what's best. But at the end of the day, it's your movie. It's at the core. And where's your integrity to yourself? And and I think that's not specifically a memory. I mean, I can think of where he upheld that, for himself, and areas, but like, I mean, a lot of times he and I would just talk, like, and we would just have these incredible conversations about things like that. And yeah.
I love that. Is this coming from me or is this coming from outside of me? That's big. That's like really just a powerful thing or question to sit in for any of us. Like when there's an excitement bomb or a curveball. It's funny how that ties right into what we're talking about.
Yes.
Thanks, Prince.
Thanks,
Prince.
Yeah.
He's here right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Well, I love all of this. We've got a little bit of time left. Like, what in this season of life, like what are, like, what's really going on for you? That's like, what's your calling now? How are you like showing up in life? What's your impact? Like, let's just get the juicy present details from Andy.
One of the main things I've been focusing on this year in the last 2 months, is simplicity, and entrusting that I don't have to be busy all the time to be productive. That actually my productivity is more when I simplify, and because then I'm not spread so thin. So I've been doing a lot of work on, I mean, yeah, interestingly enough, like, okay, where am I having integrity with myself, and trusting that what I'm putting my time into will realize, might not in the time that I want it to. I'm working on my impatience also, but
Yeah.
But really like taking and making that space, because nothing new can exist if there's no space. So how can I remove or release things to create space for something new that's potentially more aligned with me?
Can you say that again? Nothing new can exist in the same, or what did you say?
Yeah, like there's like nothing new can exist in without new space.
Without new space. Wow.
Yeah.
That's,
So
isn't that interesting?
yeah, so you've got to remove stuff. You've got
Yeah.
to, take out the trash, for lack of a better phrase,
Or take out
or take out.
some of the stuff that you love that you're not like.
Yeah,
It's really interesting how I'm
that's
just.
true. Yeah, it's not all trash. Correction.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's like
Well, some of it's trash.
some of it is,
Yeah.
but not all
Yeah.
of it. Yeah, there's certain
Yeah.
things, and allowing things to have their season. So it might not be the season for me to do X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that season won't happen down the road. So I don't need to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I love all these phrases that are coming up right now. It's so random. But my mom, I'm channeling my mom. My mom's great. I'll have to text her and be like,
some of the things that I say too, I'm like, where? Okay.
right.
Where was that from? Was that from outside of me?
Oh my God. Definitely. Yes.
I'm going to use Prince on
Yes.
that one. That was from outside of me. That one wasn't me.
That wasn't me. That was not me. And that, like, it doesn't have to be so dramatic. Like, it's just like, hey, this thing, I need space. I need to create space for something new to exist. Because if there's no space, nothing can exist. Nothing new can exist there.
That's interesting.
And so it's been a lot of me creating space, and which is uncomfortable because I'm very much about like, there's no space for anything. And in me creating space, like, I'm starting to really enjoy things and enjoy the fruits of my labor in the other areas that I'm now saying, hey, maybe we're gonna take a pause, but I'll be back. Don't worry. I still love you, but
you're exciting me right now. I'm like containing my responses. There's like words that are standing out, like patience, space, and simplicity to me. Like those are all so interconnected, and like, I think there's a level of responsibility and risk involved with choosing to slow down and be simple, and to like all this stuff that we're talking about. Like, I was in performance mode, and I think there was fear that was driving me to be busy. And it's like, as you're speaking, I'm like, what? Like, those three words, like, really, I just said, are sticking with me. I'm like, they're so interconnected, and it just takes that like faith and that responsibility, or that discipline, or courage too.
yeah.
Like, and how much more fruitful you're saying, like, it's so fruitful, like, and it's less, but less is more. Like,
Yes.
I'm just all
absolutely
like, soaking you up right now. So yeah, I love
this
all
is
that.
great. I feel like, it's so amazing, just the different signs and things that come up, where you're like, when you're aware, and I think that's something that's really stuck with me in the last, I don't know, year, is having that awareness of when those signs pop up of that you're on the right path, even if it's hard, frustrating, annoying, whatever, all the negative things, frustrating, blah, blah, blah. Is those little signs, because we could miss them when we're so busy being frustrated. We can miss this little sign that says, hey, you good? Don't worry. Like, I know it's really like tough right now, but just, hang on there, and hang in there.
Do the little signs show up as like how do they reveal themselves to you?
Conversations like this, that are unexpected. There's no way to know that this, we would come to this point and talk about all these things, and it would have such an impact. Sometimes it's, like a phrase that comes up, that's been coming up almost every day for me, is trust the process. Random people will say this in situations that like have nothing to do with me or whatever's happening. And I will hear it, but because I'm attuned to like, wait, what did you just say? And so stuff like that, where you're like, it might just be a word, and not to read into everything, like, but if something keeps coming up, if you keep hearing the same thing over and over again, there might be something there,
Yeah. Excuse me. I'm like, I'm just sponging you up right now, thinking about that in my life. Like, when I feel like there's a pattern, or if there's some just like energy or like excitement, like the excitement bombs are one thing, but like a pattern of that, or like if there's like something on your heart, like it's almost like get out of your head and into your heart sort of too. Like you got,
like how does it feel? Like what is it? There's this awesome coach named Chris North.
He gets mentioned too much. That guy. I'm also a product of Chris. That's the first time I met you. I'm like, I'm a product. We're both products of Chris North.
I know. Yes. And so he's probably said, or, asked you to do this, which is, when you're faced with a decision, like closing your eyes, making one part of the decision, make that, if it's like an either or situation, close your eyes. You've made that one decision. And like, let it sit, like, imagine what that looks like. What does it feel like? And then like tap into like your heart and your body. And if you start feeling anxious, you're like, okay, good to know. And this is like a maybe 30-second exercise. This is not long. This is not like, you're not sitting in it.
Don't take a week off work.
You're not like, oh, I'm in it. No, this is like quick. This is like a quick, and then reset, shake it off, and then close your eyes. Imagine you've made the other decision. Imagine that. See how it sits with you, 10 seconds. And most times that gives you very quickly some clarity. And it's teaching you to trust your instincts, your intuition, and asking yourself to bring it back again. Is this coming from me or, outside of me? And using this exercise, it taps into, okay, what's coming from me? What's that? What's my body, my mind, my heart? What's it all trying to tell me? And then it's on you to trust it and then take that leap. Because most times the feeling and the decision, you're like, oh, but I don't want to make that decision because it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But it's the one that you need to take, in that leap.
Yeah. I'm hearing like in all that too is like removing yourself from like holding like almost like when we said holding it out here, it's like you're removing yourself from reality and being here for a second. And just like it's really interesting like how much power we have in our imagination and in our deep, like if we have that like ability to block out all the clutter and just be, and like where data's coming up for me too. It's like, wow, how can I seek data very intentionally and take my power that God gave me to be in this or be in this, and then come back to reality with that.
Yeah. And it's almost like going from like this to like this. As opposed to like, I have to have it all. I got to figure it out. Like, I'm holding on to like, okay, I'm releasing and now I'm open. What's coming to me, and I'm trusting.
Yeah. I don't like saying this, Andy, but we're coming to the end of this thing.
Man.
I know. I could sit here and check out that turtleneck and that listen to you All day. Prince stories all day. We haven't even gotten to Kimmel or anything else, but we'll save that for next time. I'll bug you. I'll
Yes.
pleasantly pester you. But thank you so much. As we land the plane, you're not quite off the hook. We always end these with like, what is a broad, like whatever's speaking to you message that you'd like to leave our audience with?
I'm like, man, I feel like I left it all on the.
There's more. There's more.
There's more?
There's more. Don't doubt yourself.
Okay, who do I want to be in this moment?
Or like anything from what we've talked about or whatever. Yeah. Or whatever, maybe Prince is putting something on your heart right now. Who knows?
I think it's moments like these. It's okay not to know. It's okay not to know. I like knowing. I like having the answer. I like being like, yeah, I've got an answer for everything. And I think that gets us into trouble sometimes. It gets me into trouble sometimes. And so it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay, because now there's space for like this.
Yeah.
Where allowing yourself to sit in the discomfort of not knowing, and really embracing the unknown of what is to come. And it all coming back to that space, right? And like now something new can exist. Whereas like, I think if I was like, yeah, let me come up with something, blah, 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 blah. Like now I'm just like trying to like come up with something and say words.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't know. And that's okay. And I can sit in the silence. I can sit in the discomfort.
Yeah.
And now there's like, now that's a lesson. Now that's like, hey, actually,
let's go. Beautiful.
It's okay. Yeah. It's okay not to know.
It's fun how all this has been kind of tied together with the story of this whole podcast. So thank you for that. It's okay not to know, everybody. Just show up and be. Collect the data. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you so much. Oh, and I know you're not hard to find. What's your handle? Is it Andy Allo?
Yes, Andy Allo across the board, and definitely check out season 2 of Upload. Check out Chicago Fire and all the good things.
Yeah, all the good stuff. Chicago Fire, Upload, everything. That's exciting. And listen to the new music that you got coming out. We'll have to get our hands on that, get our ears on that. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it, Andy. Definitely. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure seeing you and chatting with you again. And
you too.
Wish you the absolute best. And I'm sure there'll be more experiences to come. So
yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Andy. This was awesome.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.